to say.
Hi, and welcome to Pillow Talk with Angela. That's the first time I used my own song in the opening. Oh, yeah, I'm all excited. Mainly because I get to hang out with my girl today. I know you've seen our social media post talking about what you're in for today on Pillow Talk. And so many people hit me up who are in their 40s, 50s, and beyond. And they're like, you know what, I feel kind of stuck. You know, you work for a living your whole life and never really get to fulfill what your true dreams are, or maybe you haven't been able to hone in on what those dreams are. And so I thought I'd bring on my friend who she makes it her business, she makes it her living to help people just kind of get unstuck and figure out what it is that they actually want to do and what they're really good at and what they're pretty much put here to do. So she is the founder and CEO of Anchored in Spirit. And please welcome my dear friend, Wanda Whitaker.
Thank you for having me, Angela. It was so nice to hear your song. Cool.
Thank
Oh
you.
yes, people are normally stuck when
Yeah.
they reach the age. I'd say midlife.
Mm,
Generally speaking, now it's 50 years old, but it used to be 40.
yeah.
Now 50s, 40, 60s, 50. But there's a particular reason for that. I always look at it as two different transitions in life, two major transitions, and that's going from adolescence to adulthood and adulthood to elderhood. And a lot
Mm.
of people don't like that word elder.
We're never prepared for that.
No, no one ever prepared us for that. And actually, there's no ritual either that
I'm
one
not
can do.
crying. My sinuses are going bananas.
Fine, you're fine.
Well, you know
But
what? I love this conversation, and I want to, if we can, I'd like to just back up a little bit and
mhm.
talk about you and your journey because you really are doing good work. I just reading up on Anchored in Spirit and how it all came to be and what your goal is in helping people. So, can we start with maybe telling people about the company and what your goal with the company is? Some of the things that you've been doing.
Okay, so it really has to start back in my early 20s when I lived in Washington, D.C.
Your hometown.
And right. And me and a boyfriend at the time started a fashion production company called Inner City Inner Beauty Productions.
Oh, nice.
That's right, Inner City Inner Beauty Productions. At the time, he was the executive director of it was something like the Boys and Girls Clubs, right?
Okay.
And there were a lot of things for the guys to do, little boys to do, but there were nothing for the girls to do.
Mm.
And so at that time, as you know, I was modeling and I had contacted some friends of mine and I said, why don't you guys help me with putting together a program for inner city girls?
Nice.
And it was called Inner City Inner Beauty Productions. And that's how it all started. And that's when I knew that I felt that that was part of my purpose.
Mhm.
It was definitely community oriented. And then as I moved on with life, I started working for corporate America, became an account executive at the radio and television stations, which you know about that. And then I decided that I wanted to do something different. So I went surfing. Okay. And
Okay.
we go surfing. First, there has to be a spark, right?
Yeah.
You have the spark, that's the S. And then you have to, there's some uncertainty because when you're making a change, particularly going through transition, there has to be some uncertainty because usually we don't want to walk into the unknown.
Right.
We
It's
are very
scary.
fearful of walking into the unknown. As a matter of fact, we usually run back to what makes us feel comfortable. And then we
Yeah.
start living a life on default.
Yeah. And
We
the
don't
older
have
you get, it seems the more afraid you are
yeah,
to
the
make some
more
change.
afraid you are. But you have to somehow step into that uncertainty. And then you have to take a risk. There's always
Mm,
a risk.
there's
So you
always a
cannot
risk.
be, you have to step into your fear and see it disappear. How about
Ooh, I
that?
love that. Look at this. So we open it up for people to comment throughout the
Okay.
show, and I love Roger, very talented artist. I mean
All right.
will take the pain of comfort rather than their heart's desire in the unknown because it's too scary or risky for many to pursue. You were just talking about that. That could apply to their passion or even not pursuing a possible love interest. Ooh, that is so good. And it's so well, what are your thoughts on that, Wanda?
Well, that is so true. And you have to ask yourself why are people scared of taking a risk. It's usually because they're scared of going past their comfort zones. And
Mm-hmm.
they don't realize that in order to grow, you have to go or really be comfortable with being uncomfortable. And you have
Right.
to go past your comfort zones. But
So
again,
how do you get people to do that? You know, if again, we're talking about people who, you said it kind of starts in your 40s and your 50s. And as Roger said, even when it comes to pursuing someone that you're interested in, that fear of rejection, that fear of failing, fear
mhm.
of falling, when you get older, you break bones, you don't come back as easily as you did when you were immortal in your 20s. What do you suggest to
Well,
people
I
to
would
help
suggest
them
number
get
one.
uncomfortable?
Number one, they have to sit down with themselves in a space where they can go inward. Most people, they
Mm,
say, I don't have the time to do this, or, we have so many distractions. So, first of all, in order to even find out what you're wanting to do, you have to sit in a space where you that allows you to even investigate and to look back on things that you enjoyed in your childhood, for
mm,
example, right?
mm.
And when you look back on those things that you really enjoyed, looking at your talents and which we say are gifts, then you begin to say to yourself, "Oh, wow, I always wanted to do this." That's why I said we live a life of deep default. I always wanted to do this, but I don't have the time. I've got to pay my bills. I've got to keep working this job, and they just don't know how to make that transition.
Yeah.
So what I teach them how to do is how to make the transition, and you don't have to make it complicated. You don't have to take the big leap, for example. Some people think they have to take the big leap, but you don't.
Mhm.
You can take little small leaps. And when I say
Mm,
that,
because
little small
you get
leaps, yeah.
polarized. Yeah.
So if you're still working a job and you really want to do something that you enjoy, maybe take a class on it.
Mm,
Maybe go out and volunteer at a nonprofit organization. There's so many things that you can do to take little steps. And that brings
small
us
step.
to our next thing, actually having faith, but then you have to have intention, right? You have to have the intention to do something that you really want to do. Because without the willpower, you don't have anything. And the
Mm,
end is we're navigating through this space. So perhaps, uh, for me, after I came to the Northern California from Washington, D.C., I decided that I loved art and I wanted to be an artist. But, of
yeah.
course, artists don't make money. Why do you want to do that? How am I going to do that? How am I going to make money doing that when I was making so much money doing other things?
As
And
an executive.
so I just decided, you know what? I'm going to have a little art show here and there. I started painting on the back of leather jackets for, I guess it was a leather jacket store in the Haight District in
Say
San
that again
Francisco.
because the connection is a little weird. You said you started painting. Say that again.
I started painting on the
I
back of leather
apologize for the
jackets.
connection.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, it's kind of breaking up. I don't know why. Yeah,
It's
my
choppy.
Wi-Fi,
I don't know
the
why
Wi-Fi
either.
is just unpredictable.
I know.
I didn't miss that. And have I have some of your paintings I just happen to have with me. Maybe you can tell us a little bit about them.
Oh, well, this goes along with my purpose, okay? Because after finding out what my purpose was, and that is to empower people to awaken to their higher selves and greatest potential through the arts and sciences. And this is one of my first paint. Well, I guess it wasn't my first paintings, but I painted this in 2011. I do believe it was
Wow,
2011. And this is called the the many stories of the origins of life. There are many
I
stories.
love it.
And this is
And what?
Queen Califia, who California was named after. And this is so historical because, there were Black people in California 10,000 years ago, as you can see in the medallion on the woman's head, the queen's head. That medallion was found in a cave in California that was dated back
Oh,
10,000 years ago. People should
oh my
look up the
goodness.
story of Queen Califia. And this is one of my favorites because a lot of people buy this particular piece because it works on the subconscious, and you put it in a little child's room. And if
Mhm.
this is all they're looking at, this becomes a part of their subconscious mind.
I love it so much. Talk about positive affirmations. And look at her. She's beautiful.
She's called Karma. This is actually one of my grandnieces.
Oh,
And I did say grand. I admit I'm aging, so hey, I don't care.
hey, it's all
Her
good.
name is Karma, and it's just this is how we start to go inward with reflection. Nature's a great way to do this as well, and this is just bringing in the light and our connection with nature as well.
Beautiful.
There's so many stories behind these art pieces, but I use these pieces as well to help people discover themselves.
Thank you. Hi,
Yeah.
Vivian. Thanks for being here. She said, nice show. I appreciate that. So, Wanda, you mentioned something.
Mhm,
Ageism
mhm,
is so real. And that was an inspiration to today's topic as well. People who are working as executives, they're still in there, hanging in there, but ageism is real. And
mhm.
at some point soon, if you're over 50, they're probably looking at your younger peers to replace you. That's just kind of
Especially in technology. You're
especially
absolutely
in
right.
technology, especially in broadcasting, especially in acting, all over across the board. Ageism is real.
Mhm.
There's some who manage to hang in there. Thank you, Jesus. And but there are many who don't, and maybe that's not the job you really wanted anyway. And so maybe now is the time to reinvent.
Reinvent, reimagine, don't retire, rewire, all of
Ooh,
these
I love
things.
that.
And actually, it's a great time because you're much more wiser once you reach the age of 50. Now, it's harder for women because, physically, you know, our hair starts to go, uh, we begin our facial features change. We just physically change, and and
Well,
and
they change too. It's just more accepted.
it's more accepted. And then the body starts, acting up. It's like a little ache here, a little pain there. Then you have to take this pill for high blood pressure or whatever. And then now you're getting closer to the end of life, and you're thinking about, okay, how do I want to live my last chapter?
Hmm.
And a lot of times what you can do is say to yourself, if I had a eulogy, how would I write my eulogy? What would I want people to know about me? And if we start actually writing it, then that's a direction in which you can go in. And it's a lot of times you don't want to wait till you're on your deathbed and say, "Oh, I never got a chance to do that. Oh, I
Yeah.
wish if I had just one more time." Well, you have time now.
The regrets. Well, you know what? It sounds a little morbid writing your eulogy, but I get it. It's a motivator because it's a reminder that this is the second half of your life. You've hopefully enjoyed the first half, but the second half is meaningful. Don't start just sprinting toward the end, but live every day and figure out, what is my legacy? What do I want to be remembered by? And while I'm here, it's not the end yet. So live. That's
Well,
my thing.
what the problem is, Angela, is most people don't know what they want to do
And
because they've been.
and you're right. I mean, there are people who are in their 50s, 60s who never figured it out or maybe didn't have the courage to pursue it. I mean, what if they wanted to try and do what you do, try to be an artist or, all of that? I think at some point in your life, you've got to maybe become numb to how other people might react to you and just do you. They,
Absolutely.
they might not approve, but that's okay. This is your life because at the end of the day, you don't want to be just, saying, I wish I would have and start being resentful for everybody for not encouraging you to do it. I think you've got to be the one to encourage yourself and just power through it.
And then when you put purpose behind the passion.
Talk about that.
Well, a lot of times, like I said, people don't know what their purpose is and they don't know what they want to do, but they can ask themselves, what did I love to do as a kid? You
Yeah.
know, what did friends like about me?
Hmm.
Um, if I had to do a how-to show, what would it be?
Mm.
How to do, right? Uh,
Yeah.
what kind of movies do you like viewing? All of these things are indications of what you're wanting to do. And it's at a soul level because I always tell people when you're going through any major transition, that is an opportunity to become more connected with who you are.
Oh, I
And
love.
it's not until you ask yourself, who you are, where did I come from, why am I here, what's my purpose for being here, does
Mhm.
life really become um, transformable in ways that you could ever believe. This is when you become happy. This is when you become, um, and you're right about not caring what people think because that's one of the things that prevents you from
Yeah.
doing what you
And
really want to do.
hi,
And
Mark. I love what you're saying. The R word, I guess you mean retirement. The R word can be a death sentence. You tend to become sedentary. I think so. I mean, I can't imagine myself ever retiring. I mean, from voiceovers and from singing and from doing this, I don't think I have to. And I wouldn't. I don't think so. I mean, what does that look like?
well, I tell you what, you've got to want to learn something new.
Hmm.
And again, learning something new requires you to think differently. It
Yeah.
requires you to say to yourself, I'm on this earth for a reason, and I'm passionate about this. Right? I think there's an author by the name of Richard Leader. He wrote The Power of Purpose, and he has
Mm.
a formula. He has this what he call a napkin test, and the formula is um, gifts plus
In my end. Oh, there you are.
okay, gifts plus passion plus values equals your calling.
Ooh, gifts
Gifts,
plus
that's your talents, your talents that you've had since you were young, right? And
right.
that's something you would do that's natural for you to do. You just love doing it and you'd learn more about it,
And I think you
right?
said
And
passion was the
then
other one.
passion, passion is something that you want to
Yeah.
do, but you want to serve doing it. You want to
Oh,
serve
yeah.
doing it.
That's
And
important, right? It's
right,
not just you. Hmm.
you know, it's about a desire to bring something into the world that has a higher calling. And
Yeah.
then, of course, values is like the environment that you want to, I guess, that best fits your values.
Hmm.
So that's the formula, and that's the calling, or that's the purpose.
That's
And
beautiful.
it's
And
always
I,
it's always about serving. I tell you that. It's always
it's
about growing and giving, which is serving.
And the more you give, the more you actually get at any point in your life. And I'm so glad that Mark brought that up because now my husband is going to retire, in about 4 or 5 years. But I think his version of retiring isn't going to be sitting around just looking for stuff to do. He's got a lot of interests and he'll, sit on boards, keep the hobbies alive. And I think it's important not to, as Mark pointed out, to become sedentary. And you've certainly pointed out some really good tools for us to keep in mind to just make conversation, Wanda. And before we let you go, I know you're on social media. People can see your name right there, Wanda K. Whitaker. The beautiful art that I showed a little bit earlier, where can they get that? Is it anchoredinspirit.com?
That's correct. www.anchoredinspirit.com.
Okay, there you go. I didn't write it the way you're going to put it into your URL. It's anchoredinspirit.com. And I went to your website and it's so good. Talks about your purpose, talks about a lot of the things that you are sharing with us today. And I just want to encourage people to support you and other artists. You've got beautiful works there. Roger James, who was kind enough to comment, make sure you follow him as well because he's another talented artist. And that's how artists kind of keep doing what they do. They need support from us. So, yeah, we're here. Wanda, thank you so much for being with us. Any inspiring words you want to leave with us before you say goodbye? In
Well,
terms,
I do want to tell people about a source that they can use for if you're thinking about retiring or you're in midlife and you want to make a change. There is a Martin Elder Academy that's based in Baja, Mexico, that people can attend, and it's a great retreat to help put you on the path to purpose. So I would recommend that. And if you go,
Wanda, I just talked to one of my girlfriends earlier today,
okay.
telling her that you're coming on the show. And she said, I am in Mexico right now at the Baja Resort. She's a yoga instructor. Isn't that crazy? And I told her about you and what we're talking about. She was saying, isn't that nuts that I call you today? And I didn't know you were going to recommend that place. So I think that's something I need to check out.
Nothing
Yeah,
is a coincidence.
nothing is
Nothing.
a coincidence. And tell us the name of it again.
It's called the Martin Elder Academy in Baja, Mexico. And we have a special Black Martin Elder Academy that we will be facilitating because I'm one of the facilitators there this coming June. Well, next June, June the 9th, 2023,
In
2024. Sorry, right. In Baja.
Very nice. So for people to just keep up with you, because they're not going to remember this, we're not going to remember this. But for people to stay in touch with you, what is the best way? Should they connect with you on social media or go to
Well,
your
I would say connect with me through my email, which
okay?
is anchoredinspirit@gmail.com.
Okay.
They can do that, or they can go on my Facebook page, LinkedIn, Instagram, Wanda Whitaker or Wanda K. Whitaker, and you can reach me there. Find out more information.
That's wonderful. Again, Wanda, thank you so much. And your fellow artist here is also wishing you well. You see that from Roger. Thank you,
Oh,
Miss.
I'd love that, and I would love to meet you, Roger, and see your work. All
You two
artists, we support each other.
need to connect on social media. You two need to connect with each other. And Sheila, hi, good evening. Thank you for joining us, lady. All right, everybody, connect with Wanda K. Whitaker on social media. And you holler at her, she's going to holler back. She said you can connect with her on email as well. That's anchoredinspirit@gmail.com. And once this conversation is over, I'll go ahead and put it in the comments. All right, Wanda, thank you again. Have a great
Thank you
evening.
so much. Thank
Keep
you.
doing what you do.
All right.
We appreciate you.
Appreciate all of what you're doing, Angela, and keep doing it.
Thank you so much. Love you, girl.
All
Talk to
right.
you soon.
Bye-bye.
Thank you all for watching Pillow Talk with Angela. You're going to hear this conversation this weekend on 96.3 WHUR, right after the original Quiet Storm, as well as Jam 98. All you need to do is download the app. They're streaming. And if you watch B-Spire TV, you'll see this podcast, and that can play anytime, and you can watch that on Hulu. Thank you so much for joining. Make sure you follow us on social media as well. And that's at Angela Stribling on all platforms, as well as at Pillow Talk with Angela. Thanks again for joining us and just being a part of the Pillow Talk with Angela community. We really appreciate you. God bless you.